Oh yeah, cool.
Okay,
I'm
so
not really sure
welcome.
why. I'm not really sure why you didn't want the title on this, but whatever.
Here's the reason. I'll just say it because people get big sticks up their asses if they're like, "Has your poem ever been have you been published in print?"
Oh,
No. Has there ever been on a message board? Well, no. Has has there a recording of the poem elsewhere?
I see. Okay, okay, fair enough, fair enough. So anyway,
So culpable deniability. If you we can discuss it. I was going to say put the title in the chat, but we can discuss the title afterwards. But you can say what it is. I'm just basically trying to throw the trail
okay,
off for the
fair enough,
prudes.
fair enough, fair enough. This is a poem called "Before Mountains Were
Oh,
Mountains."
so yes, this is the workshop, and we're going to be going over the poems tonight. This is the first of its kind in Stone Soup history as far as online. So if you guys are interested and have any questions watching out there, as this is loaded up onto YouTube the day after, let me know. And we've spent a lot of time here. I want to get to everybody here, no matter how long it takes. So first up is Stone Soup regular and online poetry open mic regular, John Wezick.
AK, I was a young black belt with a Chinese fiance who danced to ska punk in the northwest rainforests, limber legs twisted in wild samadhi atop the truck tire zafu, shunyata simmering, nitroglycerin exploding preconceptions, paper mache chana, right hand raised in fearless mudra flanked by gentle lovely Keteshvara and fierce Achala Nata, one hand fang pointing toward heaven, the other toward hell. Red carpet pine, incense, sizzle of charcoal, garbage bag barricades separate genders at night, cloistered walkway, cold, clear, bowing to Buddha even from outside, crushed illusion like this toothbrush. Michelin star baker, I'm the poor bastard who got stuck with a Dharma named Cuthbert. Nice guy, got killed on a bicycle. Brown robes, purple Roxu, Dharma talk from a polished jewel who prayed like a donkey. Gaiton, stained glass, my lingering suspicion after a Sangha member's suicide. Steam from Mount Shasta, compost shovel, manzanita root, the abbess with staff and straw hat. Drop everything, follow the still small voice wherever it leads.
Now, as we used to do in live workshops when I was in grad school, we'd have a moment of silence, which I'm fucking up, but let's have a couple seconds moment of silence to think about it. And what people also do is holding any questions you might have. Let's hear from the group who can unmute themselves at any time. Certain words, phrases, or even lines that stand out to you as overall positive and got the most reaction out of you. Who would like to speak first? Maybe as people are absorbing, it might be a good time to bring up the title here. Oh, and Robert wants to speak.
My favorite image is in the last stanza, steam from Mount Shasta.
I enjoyed the sentence in the beginning, limber legs twisted in wild samadhi atop a truck tire zaifu. That sounds very like eclectic, interesting. It's making me like pulled into the poem.
I agree. I was also pulled in with Young Black Belt. I kind of have a question is in what is the black belt in? Is the black belt in ska punk? I almost want an answer to that question. I like the fact that almost no matter how much he continues or because he continues, he just creates more questions as far as what the poem's trying to convey, which in a John Weswick poem, for those who have experience listening to him, sounds like he's always trying to convey everything. But this almost sounds like one of the slam poems in that fiction story he read. It could like it could have been performed in that actual slam.
I do like the nice guy got killed on a bicycle. Great. Like that kind of punctuation and changing of the tone worked really well.
I really like the flow of your reading. You read beautifully, the way it flows, your intonation, and all of that is gorgeous. Half the words you speak I cannot understand, but they sound pretty. And every now and then, enough a phrase comes through that gives me an image in my mind, but only a fleeting image because the next phrase is somewhere else. And so I have all these just one single flash flyer flies popping all over the place. I couldn't tell you anything more about it. It was everything came so fast, and that's good. I like the waterfall just, but it's yeah. I can't. If you open your mouth under the waterfall, you fill up really fast.
I like the Dharma name Cuthbert because Cuthbert is my favorite saint.
And you're up on your saints and your other mythical slash holy figures,
He is the saint
James.
that lived on the island of Lindisfarne, right near, and it's actually just around a little prominence that juts out into the ocean where her family came from in a place called Spittal, which is for hospital in
Lepers.
Northumbria.
Leprosy.
A leprosy hospital back in the Middle Ages gave the place its name. And so St. Cuthbert and there are lots of schools, for example, St. Cuthbert schools up there.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask people, and I hope this helps the poet, is what do you think the underlying theme is throughout the poem, which seems to have a lot of things thrown together? What do you think the unifying thread is from Buddha to Cuthbert to and so on and so on?
That's suicide.
I would say it's actually Buddhism is the big unifying thing here. Mount Shasta, of course, is
But is it
often
straight Buddhism,
described
or
with
is
the
it
beach.
kind of is it straight Buddhism, or is it kind of like a different take, or I don't want to say twisted per se, but is it a new twist or turn on it?
Sounds Tibetan to me, a lot of it.
It feels kind of like the Gonzo Buddhism, which is a weird combination of phrases, but hear me out. That you get in graphic novels like The Invisibles in like the late 90s. There was this period where this was like a thing that was happening a lot, where the acceleration is part of it and everything being mashed into everything. So if you're familiar at all with The Invisibles, this kind of like vibed with that for me.
For me, it's the journey that the young black belt needs to go on to become the master black belt.
I get that feeling too of like it is definitely a type of journey. Like maybe as the black belt, he has a lot of discipline for his craft. And then this is almost kind of taking him through a journey of maybe like understanding that better. And like kind of the ending sentence, follow the still small voice. Maybe that's the end of the journey or possibly the answer. Not too sure though.
Well, the still small voice is actually from
Yeah,
some book.
that's St. John.
Oh, or well, I think it might be Old Testament, but
Yeah, you're right.
Old Testament. But I find it interesting, like the guy that got killed on the bike, and then the suicide. Well, for me, Cuthbert being like dead in this between the 600s and 700s, it helps my depression to take the long view. But it just reminded me of something. Well, my good friend, she's a Jubu. And the Dalai Lama, who I was just writing, did he have to go in the back door of the White House? But anyway, she's a Jew boo, and the Dalai Lama said, "Why are all these Jews in Brookline Buddhist?" And we're both greeters, but I'm the greeter at the cathedral, and she's the greeter at Shambhala, and she's also my acupuncturist and friend since '92.
So that's the Tibetans.
Yeah, that is that. Oh, is that Tibet?
Shambhala.
Okay.
That was them in America.
See, I don't know that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. In Colorado there, they had a place. And also in Woodstock.
So is there anything that anyone would want to see more of in this pulled out from it? I kind of skipped ahead and said like I wish I knew what he was a young black belt in because it feels like so many things are thrown together. This almost seems kind of absurdist, but the more I look at it, it seems like more grounded than when I first thought. So I'm interested in everyone's thoughts in this as well. And then after we do that, we can field any questions that if there's any questions that John has as far as like if he's missing a other input or he's wishing for a other input into the piece, we can go there as well.
I'll respond to the word young in the first line. Um, there's an opportunity to include more things that you would expect in a young person, like to make a lot of mistakes, the and also for them to have a discovery where they have a loss of innocence. So those are two opportunities for things to add to the poem.
If anyone's still thinking, I kind of want more revelry. Like there's a part of me that can't shake the fact that this is almost contradiction, or maybe one that can be brought out more. That I'd love to see, if that's what the poet would like. Is that it's kind of like aggressive enlightenment. Like he's like, wow, pretty good, huh? Like someone who meditates real hard. And just like kind of aggressively, but not aggressively in an angry way, but just like excitedly enlightened. Like I go back to the young black belt, and I feel like that there's untapped potential there. As much as that would mean like an extra, maybe an extra page to the poem, but I think there's a lot we could unlock if we focus on like the young student, maybe a little, like maybe get him into view a little bit more.
I think the garbage bag barricades piece there, like, I want to be clear. This to me reads very postmodern, figure your own stuff out. This is Zen Cohen. I'm not here to explain it to you. So I don't want anything over explained and I don't want to go like super deep into that. But that one line feels like it's the wrong level of specificity, if that makes sense. Like it's a little bit, it's not so specific that it is like, the head of a pin kind of a like prick of a moment like you get with like just brown robes, Mission
Yeah.
Starbaker. Like it's just it's a little bit more, but it's not so much more that you're actually getting something out of it. So not that was too mean. I'm sorry. But anyway, it feels like that one could be brushed up in some way, either explored a little more or pulled a little back.
Yeah, when I agree with you. And when I say, I agree with you in terms of like explaining without over explaining. In some ways, when I say like, what is he a black belt in? I almost want, it's not like I want more exposition and, explanation. I want more myth building in terms of a sense where like we don't have to have everything explained in detail, but just like adding more details to Candy Mountain and the Gumdrop Rivers and stuff like that. And you don't need to know how everything works, but just like more vivid detail like that is going to make the poem pop, I think, even more. Anyone else with thought?
Hmm.
John, any comments or questions? Anything that you felt
I have a
wasn't answered? Oh,
No, first of all, thank everybody for your attention and your comments. I will say briefly where this poem came from. Emily Dershowitz and I gave talks at the Zen Center North Shore about Zen and writing. Emily pulled up a Natalie Goldberg exercise called I Remember. And so basically, I remembered my time going to the Zen monastery at Mount Shasta. And basically, this is here I was living in Vancouver, Canada, and doing my postdoc and just driving down and doing retreats down there. These are just all images. William Carlos Williams says no ideas but in things, and kind of try to write that way. It's like a list poem, basically. So thanks again for your comments. I'll
well,
take
let's
them.
get the title of the piece that you had put,
Oh,
if you had one.
it's called "Before Mountains Were Mountains Again," and it's
Hmm.
that old saying, first mountains are
First there's a
mountains.
mountain, then there is. First there isn't a mountain, then there is, then there isn't.
Yeah,
Is
first
that it?
mountains are mountains, then the mountain isn't a mountain, then the mountain's a mountain again. Or if you're doing karate, first there's a punch is a punch, then a punch isn't a punch, and then a punch is a punch again. Same sort of concept, right? And so this was a young time in my study of Buddhism that this very thing. And there was a guy Cuthbert. Actually, the monks, said, "Oh, we have these Japanese Dharma names, and nobody really likes them." And so Geocanis said, "Oh, well, they're great English names for monks." And they give weird ass names like Clarenbald and Cuthbert, and beat me up. And one of the guys, I don't know if it was Cuthbert or Clarenbald, but he was a nice guy. But he got in a traffic accident on a bicycle and got killed. So. There you go.
It's really sad. It kind of reminded me. I didn't know if you knew the story of Greg Irons.
Hmm.
He was an underground cartoonist who actually died by getting his bike hit. He actually got into multiple accidents and ended up getting hit by a car, finally taking his life. But he actually drew a story, basically about a stand-in cartoon character
Yeah.
getting hit and thrown off his bike. And the one thing line I remember from that is like I think his character was named Bobo or something, and the line he has is, "Oh, Bobo, here comes Mr. Karma."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kept on having that in my head as well. So,
Yeah, the other thing, the girl I drove down to for my first retreat down there, she actually committed suicide, a
ooh,
month or two after we got back, and that kind of messed me up. Even though I didn't know her very well, it's kind of, oh, geez, it's like real life and stuff. Anyway, thank you all for your comments. I will stop sharing and
I
listen to what.
had a comment.
Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
I had a comment. So when you first go into the piece, we were all looking at it, and I love how you dived right in. You didn't pause. We were mid conversation, and then you just drove right in. And because you dived right in, it let me, as the listener, know that you were taking us on a wild ride. That's what made it interesting because it seems, from what I can gather, it seems like this is multiple stories or multiple different lines rolled into one. sort of like a trail mix of different pieces. Am I correct?
Well, it's a bunch of memories rolled into one, I would say.
Right. I love how you were able to take us into all of that with one felt swoop. I appreciate that because if anything, not many people can do that. A lot of poets, myself included, I won't even lie, a lot of poets, um, they have to pause, they have to, but you went right into it and you took us, well, you took us on a roller coaster. Um, that made me really get into the poem. And then one of the things that I noticed when you were talking about, I think you quit. Did you stop sharing?
Yeah, yeah, you can share. I can
Okay.
share it again if you want to see
No,
it.
no, you don't have to.
All right.
When you talked about bowing down to Buddha behind closed doors,
Mm.
I wanted to know what that meant. But you could
Uh,
always tell me later because I want to let the next person go.
yeah, real quickly, when you cross in front of a Buddha, you kind of bow. That's kind of etiquette in a meditation hall. And they had you, even if you're walking outside the meditation hall, if you're outside the meditation hall, even if you're crossing the Buddha's line of sight, they actually would ask you to bow there too. So that's basically what that meant.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome. Again, thanks
Thank
everybody.
you.
This meeting
Whoop.
is being recorded.
Don't know how that happened, but okay. And now we're going to turn our person to the man who volunteered to go second. Let's give it up for Mr. Lewis, Bill himself.
Oh, ho, 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 oh, Chadford, oh. I am so happy to be here. I would never think that there'd any be place so wonderful on a Wednesday night before the most favorite day of the year. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah, a delightful Diwali, and a satisfying solstice and a happy new year. Oh. I love you guys. I'm so happy you do this. I
Don't
think it's
forget
a...
Kwanzaa, Bill.
Oh, and a cool Kwanzaa. And name all the rest you can. I hope you have a romantic Ramadan. But I'm supposed to be reading poetry or something or another, so I shall endeavor to do my part. So I actually did bring up one of my favorite poems, so I'll just go ahead and go with it. La 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 la. Oh, I need my glasses. I can't read from here.
She hates me.
So this is a poem dedicated to the young lady in the picture, of course. I'm not her daddy. She knows that fact well. I'm her mom's funny old friend, and that's just as well. Her brother and sister, who are several years younger, they want a daddy. It's for him that they hunger. Just an old friend, but I'm fun and I play. We do neat things together whenever I stay. It's like you're our daddy, Caden whispered in my ear that he rode on my shoulder, big and brave with no fear. And Bibi awakens me from my slumbers on their couch by counting my fingers 1 through 10. She's no slouch. Daddy, she purrs when her mother isn't near. It makes me so happy she holds me so dear. But Ashley is 8 and she is no fool. She knew her real father. She knew he was cruel. I'm okay as a friend. I bring water balloons, but don't get too close. Don't try too soon. I'm just your mom's friend, though I am fairly silly. There are few things as fun as tricking poor Billy. As we drove to the lake, she gave all the commands, so we ate at McDonald's to fulfill her demands. At the lake, the kids all splashed and played and found it me a near perfect day. Now, Ashley is clever, and it's a fair bet that when I'm distracted, she'll get me wet. She'll knock all my s'mores off into the fire, and driving me crazy, I fear she'll not tire. And trumping my cards and stealing my spoons, this obnoxious child makes me look like a goon. At 2 in the morning, it's vacation, no curfew. The little ones slump as if on the same cue. But Ashley is big and she wants to hear what we adults say when children aren't near. Now, Ashley, the kid who never asks for permission, best get out of her way when she's on a mission. Like a pup who is searching for the most comfortable ground, she crawls onto my lap and turns herself round. And then, having found it, that most perfect place, she wraps my arms round her and nods off into space.
Oh,
Boom.
What a cute
Okay.
child.
Did you know there was a Christmas that almost wasn't? This poem isn't about that. But let us take a quick moment of silence, look things over.
mm, mm, mm.
Moving on from the silence, what are some highlights that struck one of you? If anyone wants to start first, you can get the ball rolling. You can do the raised hand icon or just speak up.
I'll start. I really enjoyed the rhyme. It reminds me of Dr. Seuss rhyme. And the rhyme that I really liked is, so we ate at McDonald's to fill her demands. McDonald's and demands. I like that rhyme.
I just really like the overall just kind of message of the poem. I really like the idea of like, slowly but surely kind of melding into a new family and not taking things too fast. And it made me just kind of think of old childhood memories myself, and I just really appreciate all of it. It made me feel very warm and happy.
Yeah, there's a kind of sweetness to it.
This is a slight deviation from what we did before because obviously this is less of a new poem, and this is actually one he's read before for Stone Soup. But so I'm treading carefully here. But I do want to ask if there's a way that Bill is going to expand on this or even write another poem. I would like to know what people's or if there's anyone who has a question about the poem or a question that came up about it. Would love to hear that as well.
Well, I have something that I would suggest here, and usually what the easiest thing for me to do with a poem is to cut out dead words. Okay, so I think that the stanzas that you have there where something is happening, when there's an action, I think those are really strong and really delightful. But then there are other stanzas in here where you're just talking about something and it's not an action. Um, so I think one thing you could try is to cut out the stanzas that don't have any action and see what you're left with that. Let's see what that looks
Okay.
like.
So, in other words, a stanza such as the one I'm
Well,
just
go,
from
go,
my
go to the first
friend.
go to the first page, for example.
Okay, let's go to the first page. Oh, that's not. Oh, wait. We got to. Yes, that's the first page, right?
Yeah, okay. So now I think it's like your daddy, Cade whispered in my ear, and she rode on my shoulders, big, brave, with no fear. See, I think that's the thing that's got an action there. Now, if you need to put something to explain that you're not their daddy or something like that, you know, maybe start out with the action, start out with something strong, and then maybe slip in a little bit of explanation, but not much after it.
Okay.
So that's my thought.
I appreciate.
I do think it's fun doing something that's both rhyming and this is common meter, right? Like what Emily Dickinson wrote in, right?
Uh,
Yes.
The da 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 da. That's so it's really structured, which is a big difference from a lot of the other stuff that we do here. I do think that John is right that there are some whole stanzas that are probably not carrying their weight. I think especially on page 2 here, there's she wants to hear, never ask for permission. Like those two are doing the same thing. And so I do think that you might be able to trim some things down. But I also would love to see a little bit of her actually being standoffish because it feels like as I'm seeing this, you're talking about how it's likely she'll be standoffish with you, but I don't see her like bash into you, you know? So I don't know.
okay. She just didn't call me daddy or anything. I was just this weird, funny friend who was actually really fun. And what is more fun than tricking Billy? I mean, she was a happy camper, and I would complain vociferously, which just made her happier. And when I wasn't looking, she'd climb up on my shoulders, and I'd have to give her a piggyback ride and yell at her, "Get off of me, get off of me." And I could never get her off, but she'd laugh until she fell off, and that kind of stuff.
I want to follow up with what Anna said about she actually wants the child to take longer to connect with the voice and to actually show physically moving away from the voice at the beginning. Overall, I find that everything goes right too much. There aren't enough struggles to make it seem real. It's a little bit like what do we call rosy tinted glasses, blended family. I would like to see more things go wrong, which would make it more realistic.
Sometimes it just goes right.
Yeah, sometimes it does, but yeah. And can we also go to the first page? I had one more comment on the first page.
I will too, but you first, Rob.
Okay. The title and the first stanza tells the reader too much. From the rest of the poem, the reader can come to that on their own. So you're giving away too much in the title and the first stanza.
I don't know. I don't guess she hates me from this. I actually don't.
As someone who has a stepdaughter, I kind of am amused by the hate me. She used to always say, "I really hate you right now" if I was pranking her. But I am somewhat in agreement with Robert in the sense that the first stanza, if you were to have to take that out, I think if you were to take the first stanza out and recite even from the second paragraph, I think even the stanza, "It's like you're our daddy," hits a little bit more. Or even if you were to take the first and "It's like you're our daddy" stanza, just the daddy she purrs when her mom isn't near, that's a very effective line, and it might hit harder if there's a build to that, is what I would say.
Okay, I think it is worth noting that this particular event, Caden on my shoulders as we went to the Out of the Blue Gallery together to see Tom Timpton and poetry or something that was happening. And he was just so happy that we men were out doing things together, and those girls, who cared about the dumb old girls? And we went out and did. So yeah, anyway, there it is.
Well, you're talking about the Tom Tipton. You're adding a lot of description there, and it sounds interesting. Does that belong in the poem as well?
I don't know.
Well, the
Something to think
theme
about.
of the poem is blended families. So so again, I would go back to John's question, and does the Tom Tipkin connect to blended families and and connecting?
No, it's just an event that happened and should have made me feel really like, oh my God, he wants me to be his daddy. Of course I'm crying, trying to be, oh yeah, we're tough old men, we're tough old men. And inside I'm going, oh, he loves me. I love him so much. But, you know,
As a divorced parent, the four of us actually do get along very well. My ex-husband, his wife, my husband, and the kids all know this, so they know they can't get away with shit. But also they are little trolls because they're my kids. So they would routinely do the "you're not my real mom or dad" to the other gender parent.
ooh,
So to their stepmom, "you're not my real dad." Just, because they're turning into little trolls. I think
oh yeah.
if you've got any jabs like that, any hyper specific jabs, those are
No,
fun to include.
no, we were not romantic. This is,
What?
uh,
We weren't implying that or inferring that, I hope.
No.
okay.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your feedback, Bill, as well as everyone else's feedback around the poem. If I do have a suggestion of who should go next, but if someone else is eager, again, I want to keep on going through this until the end, no matter what. But if there's anyone who wants to step forward, or I can push all the people back until I get the person I want to step forward, however you choose. Oh, Robert is raising his hand. All right, Mr. Fleming, you know you have permission, so you have the floor.
Thank you. Patent pending. Not available in the supermarket. You'll have to make your own homemade noodle weapon or leave your victim the worst fate. Live. If you're a happy homemaker murderer, select the perfect noodle. I recommend for your first noodle kill the new spaghetti. Only if you're good at knots and homemade jewelry. Knot the spaghetti strands together into a necklace. Necklace your victim. The spaghetti tightens when drying. Ramen. A strangling. If you failed your Boy Scout knot badge, try the poison ravioli. Any poison will do. I prefer antifreeze filling. How to put the poison in. For a liquid, needle inject until the ravioli screams. If you use weak poison, the victim will live until the last bite. Next week's column, making a stabbing noodle knife. Reader replies to the noodle murderer.
Dear Krabby, were you in a bad mood last week's column? What did your husband say to you? Uh, I will give us the few moments more of silence. Okay. Now, I think we might have a lot, so jump out and tell us what sticks out in this poem that made you stop, smile, get shocked, what have you. Don't be shy, don't be muted.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I don't think I've read any other poems about murdering people with noodles, so it's original in that respect.
It kind of gives me this like it is satire, but it just also kind of reminds me kind of like the current state of food right now, how everything is getting recalled, there's something wrong with everything and it's slowly killing you anyway. So it's like I kind of like that kind of like feeling and emotion to it.
And I did like the ravioli screams. I thought that was pretty.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for saying. I was trying to look for the line and again, and yes,
The new spaghetti is very underground surrealist.
I wasn't clear. Is patent pending the title of it, Robert? I tried to save that for the end, but I was curious.
No, that is not the title.
Gotcha. Okay, well, we'll go from there. We've had one with a title withheld, one with a title, so I was just making sure. Oh, and Anna, you raised your hand.
Uh, yeah, sorry, I got distracted because I was trying to figure out how to mute myself. I think in addition to the recall, uh, bouncing off of, it reminded me a little bit of the sort of trad wife influencer thing, with the, happy homemaker. And I have seen some fun satirical things with like people doing the trad wifey aesthetic while gleefully making something for the person that they poisoned or so that kind of felt like it might be playing with that space.
I got a very good advice column vibe from this, which made me want to see this even in a more stream of consciousness sense, which I'm getting an impression of. Even the line breaks seem to be trying to seem intentional. I'll just segue to what I would love to see is like kind of like a prose poem, where you flow from the spaghetti to the screaming ravioli, and it reads like it does read like a twisted trad wife. I like that Anna advice column to 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 seek the secret of happiness before you come out as 8 weeks pregnant, 10 weeks after. But too soon. Let's. But that was my thought. I don't know if anyone else had any other ideas of what they would love to see, or what they would love to see, lines they would like to see, or thoughts of the process they would like to see more of in this poem.
I have two thoughts here,
Yeah.
Robert. Stabbing noodle knife. I'm thinking either we're changing that to a noodle stiletto or a noodle dagger.
Hmm.
And I think if you started the poem just where if you're a happy homemaker murderer, that would be a pretty good start from the poem. The stuff with the patent pending doesn't really get right to the point. If you're happy homemaker murderer, boom, you're right into the deadly noodles.
I see your point there, John. As a matter of fact, even the like the patent pending to live, that could be an amazing ending to the piece as well. But that's the one thing. It's like the blessing and the curse when you have something like ravioli screams. It demands it demands more imagery like that. So like the stiletto spaghetti or spoleto, whatever, like
Well,
things will cry out for it cries out for more companion lines like
you know,
that.
what you could really do is you could take blades and you could take different types of noodles. You could have fettuccine hatchets and what else? Linguini long swords and who knows? Ravioli razor blades and that kind of stuff. If you really wanted to get into it.
One thing that might be fun, there's a specific type of noodle that is referred to as longevity noodles. So having some kind of anti-longevity noodle
Nice.
to bounce off of,
I was trying to think of a good weapon pun for pappardelle, but I got nothing. That's your challenge. That's your challenge if you choose to accept it, Mr. Fleming.
I think that we can all agree that Robert Fleming is a deeply disturbed individual who is extremely sick and needs to be institutionalized immediately. Nonetheless, that imagery of noodles, spaghetti noodles, drying and strangling you is weirdly attractively sick. I mean, it makes no sense, and I hate you and I love you. But other than that, I hate you.
Well, we've kind of all admitted our twistedness because we're like, hey, what about a rigatoni 9mm or a polenta grenade? Like let's we're all gonna have to confess. Any other
Sick,
thoughts?
sick, sick.
Oh, Nike Truth writes, I'm getting an image of someone dragging a full body bag of spaghetti and meatballs, parentheses,
Oh, you're
alleged.
terrible people. God, it's Christmas time, damn it.
Christmas time is
I think the
here.
rigatoni would be more of a 44 Magnum, Chuck.
You're right. You're right. You're right. My mistake. Anyone else?
But your macaroni would be 9 mil.
There
How
you go.
long? How long did it take the victim to turn into rigatoni when it gets rigatonied? Take like,
Oh, rigatoni rigor mortis. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh no.
that's it, riga stuff.
Okay, Robert's gonna have to write some of these down for a second if he so chooses. But of course, you can go back and listen to the recording of me talking over everyone, and who wants that? Ugh. But Robert, do you have any other thoughts or questions?
Let me share the title. There it is.
Oh, that explains it. That makes every sense now.
One thing which I will try is to convert it into more of a style of an advice column as opposed to a poem, and see how that goes. So it'll then
Yeah.
it'll then be an alternative flash fiction as opposed to a poem.
I think a lot of flash fiction is slam poetry in disguise. I kind of realized that when I went to a Somerville News Writers Festival. So I sometimes I think the flash fiction writers are slam poets with funny nose glasses, like funny in
Yeah, well,
disguise.
prose poets are just flash fiction writers without a plot.
Oh God. I guess my point of that was to say that this can still be a poem, so don't let that dissuade you. But
genres are arbitrary. Do what you want.
Yeah, if it's a poem, it's a poem. If it's prose, it doesn't matter as long as you write it.
I have a
Iambic
77-line sonnet
pentameter.
that describes this whole definition, what Anna says beautifully. Exactly. Yes. Anyway,
Iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter.
all right, moving on. Do we have another volunteer? I will drag someone out, but I do like volunteers who at least hold their hand out before I drag them into the front. Volunteer. Oh yes. Let me take a quick moment to I know I have your. Here it is. You know nothing. Oh, well, sorry. Let me get the. Here we go. I can now share my own screen and hopefully. Here it is. And I hope you're able to see that well enough. I might have to scroll a little bit, or I can even just shrink this down. Give me 1 second. Let me stop the share for a moment. I know exactly what to do because I'm someone who likes to pretend to be clever. Ooh, that's not going to work.
Yeah, Heather Cox Richardson was just talking about the Know Nothings on the YouTube.
Okay, I could think this will work. Give me 1 sec. We'll cut off the title, which we already know, but it just makes it easier for me to share. And going back. Okay, hope everyone can read that. You
Yeah.
are free to go, Mr. Van Loy.
Right. Two crises back, they used to say, I know nothing until 4 years civil war and hundreds of thousands of deaths provided a prophecy of what was to come next time and moved discussion past those secrets so well kept until now we're whistling past the national graveyards of the at least third tier of globalization for which our country made itself indispensable nation from one sea to shining other sea of this imperial glee. And the full weight gravity, each of the crises actually is made of the same elemental bits, but their order is never predictable as the Civil War and us, the U.S., was spot in the middle of the 1884 revolutions that culminated in the Paris Commune, 1871, and the Franco-Prussian War with Bismarck's subsequent incipient experiment in social security state held together, sort of, with partial parsimonious payment and secret police and lots of patriarchal power. All that had been in common now run from central casting bureaucrats, the bugaboos of the 1950s conservationism, now in the form of the John Birch Society, zombies from hell, still charging out in the commercial consumption fits, so fit it seems we must spend away our days, maybe our last days, a stare at small, even tiny screens along slopes of the telegraph lines become tangling earphones, telephones redundant, even obsolete. What feet not to get lost, tetra like, falling candy or twitch, twitch, tweet. Goes our thumbs sitting there almost anywhere, nowhere, cyberspace, way out past Ethernet. But gee, that's so yesterday, and tomorrow will just never comes. Since today is not here, since we're all somewhere, how easy we think the Russians attempted revolt in 1905, so 1917 was inevitable when there left us no choice except revolution, or maybe the machines taking over. And what kind of a coup is that for life itself on the old capitalist chopping block when obviously weird world gone global is a common world made of common dreams. We all want good government of, by, and for people, not machines, not some crummy thing, not this object, not mass extinction of life.
And with that comes the pondering silence for a few more moments while I pour myself a good cup of water.
I had some lines in here that I liked. Whistling past the national graveyard, held together sort of central classing bureaucrats, zombies still charging. I'm not sure if you really need from hell. Tangled earphones way past the internet. What kind of coup is this?
For
Uh,
life itself, yeah.
yeah, yes, there's a lot of cool stuff in here, and it's a nice machine gun kind of delivery with a nice energy to it.
Machine gun's a good way to put it. Anybody else?
I did love
Anyone?
central casting bureaucrats. It's a beautiful little chef's kiss there. I also thought it was really interesting, and I don't know if I misheard or if it was a something where you had misspoken, but I heard wired as weird. And so this obviously wired world became this obviously weird world gone global. And I don't think that's anything you necessarily have to play with, but it was an interesting experience for me hearing the one thing, seeing the other thing, and seeing how they play.
I heard weird too.
What did you say, John?
I heard weird too.
Yeah, same.
You know,
Happy accident.
my favorite part of this work is that it's one sentence and it's such a long sentence and the voice is so long-winded.
Yeah, the double parentheses also beautiful. Love it. More of that, please.
Yeah, no one, no one knows, no one like but James knows how to stretch a sentence and a point, as seamlessly as he does. And it's, any changes that we even suggest are going to be rough because, like James says, it's all one thing. It's all connected. It's all connected. It's, but I'd like to see if anyone has any questions in terms of the form. This might be, I know you guys hear James's work a lot, but unless you go see his column every Thursday morning at 11 o'clock, hype point, then this might be your first time seeing the whole physical manifestation. So I'd be curious as to other thoughts or other questions you might have.
Well, here's one thing. You have whistling past the National Cemetery. Would it be better to say whistling past Arlington National Cemetery? Make it more specific? Either way, doesn't matter.
Well, I think that would limit it actually somewhat because
Okay, it's all right.
we're definitely talking about a global imperial entity here.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm ready to share on what I'd like to see more of. I'd like to push the longevity even further, and two ways you could do that is you could pick words which have more syllables. So as opposed to using the word say, you could have a 3 or 4 syllable synonym, or I think you also have the word use. You could use utilization, which is 4 syllables. The other way to make it even longer is to make the line lengths even longer. My other comment is to add something personal about some actions that the voice is doing during this. For example, the voice could cough or fart and not apologize and just continue. Another thing you could do is that you could have the voice straining like they can't make a poo, and then at the very end they go make the poo. Like here comes my shit. So that would be adding something personal about the voice to the factual elements.
I don't know if I've ever counterpointed a point, but I don't know if I don't know. You might be pushing too far in the poem, going into more comedic territory than the writer suggests. But I understand this and appreciate the sentiment that you're expressing, even as I might be mildly horrified. But I'll let other people talk,
We love
please.
horrifying you.
Yeah,
I
I'm
do
52.
think
It's
that
easy.
yeah. I do think that there is some room for the personal, maybe not the visceral, uh, but there's that like 100 deaths is a statistic, uh, uh, stub toe is a tragedy, and there's no stub toes in here. So I don't know if there's anything where you can bring this down to a pinpoint that hurts more, but still carries the whole weight of the thing. And I don't know that you necessarily need it. Like this is the kind of shit I like. This is megaphone poetry. This is, rah-rah. So I don't know that you necessarily need to do anything with that, but if you wanted to play with the scale going from large to small and back again, that might be interesting.
Hmm. Hmm.
Anyone else? I was just checking the chat.
Well, what I always say is, look for words that aren't doing any work and get rid of them. You have a lot of really clever wordplay in here, and that's what I think is really the strength. More wordplay. If you can find words that aren't doing any work, trim them. That's the advice I give everybody for every poem.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Van Looy, this is another poem with the title in here. I don't know if you had any questions to the commenters or if there was any thought or purpose into sharing this poem that you had and there were any outcomes that you hoped for.
Um, no, I just thought it would be kind of an interesting piece to throw out there. And I kind of like the title of it actually.
Did you ever see the TV show Hogan's Heroes?
Oh yes, it's still,
Hey,
it's on
so your title is a variant on what Colonel Klink says, which he said, "I know nothing."
That's Sergeant Schultz,
Oh,
Robert.
Sergeant Schultz, right?
yes, that's right.
But there's also the Know Nothing Party, and I think after the Civil War. That I think that's probably what
It was
James is.
before that. It was in the 1850s.
1850s.
In
That's
fact,
you're right.
they actually took over the State House in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was kind of a long process because they were very anti-Catholic, and you know, probably I think it was in the 1820s is when they attacked that Catholic school over in Charlestown, for example. So this
Okay,
is
and you also got the
built up
Paris
over 30
Commune
years.
and the Franco-Prussian War in there, and yeah.
Yeah.
James, we need another political party in the United States now. I hope that you can bring back the You Know Nothing party and you could be the leader for us.
Well,
Well,
I'd like a party that actually knows something, Robert.
Yeah, we kind of
I,
already have one now.
I would say both of the current duopoly parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, are basically are split now into factions, almost right down the middle. So that's something we're really kind of in. That's kind of why I did this piece because I was thinking about that at the time. So we are in some kind of a process that's probably as momentous as to what happened in the U.S. before the Civil War, and the Civil War being the culmination of it.
Yeah, I think I remember Heather Cox Richardson talking about that. Do you watch her videos on YouTube by any chance?
Yeah, no, I do actually. I
Yeah,
have been listening to what she has to say because I like some of the. I like her
yeah,
when she actually talks about history.
yeah. Good stuff.
James, what genre do you consider this? Is it poetry or is it flash fiction? What do you characterize it as?
This is I would say it comes out of the whole beatnik thing in a lot of ways. Um, Ginsberg has very many really political poems like this, often with this kind of wry sort of humor of social commentary.
James is definitely not a know nothing. Wikipedia is nosebleeds to keep up with him. Thank you so much, James, for sharing this piece. I hope you send it to me in whatever final form for your column, however far down the line that is. We have we have time for everyone, but I want to see who wants to step forward next. This is why I arbitrarily put up number one people, but I don't want to do that during a workshop because it seems a little on the cruel side. Anyone? Anyone? Okay, then I might be volunteering Anna to come forward if she would like.
There we go. Unmute myself. A surefire way to avoid survivor's guilt is to die. A bulletproof defense against accusations of hypocrisy is never to be seen having an opinion or a history of being a human at all, and especially of being willing to experiment with the idea of being a bad guy, or much worse, being wrong. No one ever lost an election they didn't run in. A guaranteed method of reducing your carbon footprint is to hold your breath until your lungs give in. Public transit's nice and all, but even electrical vehicles have to get their power from a grid, and best not to think about how many things sacrifice their lives every meal that extends your own is the end of a dozen others. An absolutely effective way to protect your children from pain is to not have them. Harm reduction is well and good, but have you considered crushing yourself small enough that no one feels your presence, leaving the world undisturbed by your passing, like Buddha in the forest, not leaving even a footprint or piss puddle, all stones unturned, less receptive than a ghost haunting nothing insubstantial as butterfly farts? Let me get hit by a time travel bullet and affect nothing. The only way to ensure no one and no thing is inconvenienced by your presence is your complete absence.
A second theme is coming out tonight. The self-made manuals to hard living. Let's take a few more seconds, and then people can express what lines, first one aside, stand out to them.
No, I can start talking. I guess I like the opening line. Let's see. No one ever won an election they didn't run in. You got the crushing yourself to make yourself small enough, holding your breath until your lungs collapse, and the ending line I thought was a good way to wrap up the poem.
I brought this one in because I'm not happy with it, so please be mean. That's the only way it's gonna get better.
Okay, okay. Well, here I'll be me. Um, what images do you have in the first stanza?
I didn't hear.
What images do you have in the first stanza?
Uh,
You have lots
yeah,
of
no.
you have lots of images at the end of the poem, but you don't have them at the beginning of the poem. Okay, now it's a really good thing to talk about because yeah, okay, we're all becoming a victim, right? Because to be politically correct or whatever, but yeah, so boom, the first sentence. That's really all you need to really explain the first, what you're going at the first stanza. Now make us feel it with some images in there. That's what I think.
I would agree with that. It definitely feels like I want to see it more than be told about it.
You know, one way to get to that is to use the present tense and to put the voice in the position where their significant other has just died and they are struggling to decide whether they want to live or they're going to take their own life. And to show that, then I'm in the moment.
Okay, so I'm gonna be the really bad guy
Oh, I like it.
and say, you mentioned earlier that you had children, but then you say, one way to protect, an absolutely effective way to protect your children from pain is to not have them. Now, is this your way of saying, I'd love for you to dive into that more? Do you regret having children? Is it something that you wish you hadn't had? I don't know how many children you have, but was it something that you wish that you could have undone? Was it forced upon you? Was it your child that you, not your child, but your childhood that you hated this much that you wish your parents hadn't had you?
And the way to put that in the now is the voice is deciding whether they're going to have themselves sterilized so they can't have children, whether a woman's going to have her tubes tied or a man's going to have a vasectomy.
Right.
Then you're in the now.
Right there.
I would love to see that. I would love to you to, dive into that. Because, saying that, you protect them by having them cease to exist. That is something I would love to hear more about.
Well, you asked us to be mean, so
I
I
did.
flipped over the poem. Yep.
I hope I'm not too mean.
No.
Oh yeah. You so your disgusting use of this phrase really upset me. It just really ruined the poem. You would have been an absolutely perfect poem if you would have said until your lungs give out, not in. Your lungs don't give in. Otherwise, this is a perfect, beautiful poem. It expresses your intention beautifully. You could not have done this better. This is so cool. I just love it. And it's juicy and Starky was Clarky, Starky, sticky. What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know anymore.
Snarky,
Oh,
snarky.
Jesus.
It is snarky, and I love that. So go snark. Yes, just change that one word.
Bill, use the word it's snarkylicious.
It's snarkylicious.
Oh,
Oh, I like that.
Have you ever read the poem Anna After Experience by W.D. Snodgrass?
I don't think I have.
I would recommend that because it's literally a poem that you can interpret like two different voices, one alternating voice per stanza.
Mm.
It's I was just like here I mean here's the first four stanzas. I'm gonna try and read them quick, but after experience taught me that all the ordinary surroundings of social life are futile and vain, I'm going to show you something very ugly. Someday it might save your life. Seeing that none of the things I feared contained in themselves anything either good or bad, what if you get caught without a knife? Nothing. Even a loop of piano wire. And I see a lot of potential in this poem to kind of like duel with the voices. It seems like this is crying out for more murder ravioli. or screaming raviolis. And I kind of see what you're going at. I see one voice here, and I see the second voice, the darker voice of like you're basically the first voice and after experience basically saying this is what I've learned, and the second voice is kind of like carrying out what if that philosophy. What if philosophy are you how would you carry out that philosophy? How would you bring it out to the logical end?
Yeah.
And maybe batting forth, bat and forth. Maybe not have every stanza be like a different voice, but just kind of having that conflicting of saying, okay, if this is the best way to reduce your carbon footprint, how would you really do that? What would be the Robert Fleming home remedy to do that? And that might give you a little bit more solid focus to drive this in and to give it the oomph that I think it's lacking a little bit in. It's
Yeah.
definitely not lacking in the message, but I just think it needs.
Well,
It needs like the language and the process described to basically say, are you going to commit to this? Like how would you commit to this? What's the even if you do it to a even if you do it to an outlandish way, like how would you stick to what the end game is?
Yeah. And I
Or
think I think it's super obvious that this was like the first line existed. It popped into my, and then I'm trying to expand on it, and some of it is just like, no, not jiving. And like ultimately, like the message here is not supposed to be like, go jump off a bridge. The message is supposed to be everybody suffers. Suffering is part of life. Like you literally cannot crunch yourself small enough. You have to be able to tolerate that it's shitty. And so, and as I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that and looking back on it too, like one of the reasons that I don't like it is that I'm not declaring that or showing that in a way, and it just kind of gets into like misery porn, which is not quite what we want. Like it's hanging out in the hopelessness that it's trying to describe, I think.
Well, I think what you're really trying to say is you can't live without causing harm to others. So, speaking of causing harm, what do we do with all adverbs?
kill your adverbs.
Kill them, exactly. So, an absolutely effective way to protect your children, absolutely, is an adverb.
Well, I think that what you have on the page is just the negative voice.
Yeah.
There's two ways to slant it different. One way is to make the voice ambivalent. You, you know, one hand towards suffering or death, the other hand towards life. The other way you could do it is that the whole poem could be as it is, but at the very end, you have maybe the last two lines, you have a turn where the voice finds something worth living for.
it might be the anti after experience. I did put the link in the chat, but it's a good experiment to read this poem and with each alternating with someone reading the first stanza in their voice, and then taking turns with another reader who reads the second stanza, and then just alternating. And then when you get to the end, it's actually you feel like a third voice enters. It's a combination of the first two, and the stanzas end with the penultimate stanza is, and you whiner who wastes your time dawdling over the remorseless earth, what evil, what unspeakable crime have you made your life worth? Yours might be the anti after experience, because you're not trying to, you're saying yourself, the whole intent was you weren't trying to wallow in this misery, but that's what it's kind of coming out as. So maybe you
Yeah.
have to, maybe you need that, maybe the alternating stanza or alternating voice needs to shake you find some imagery or some action to shake you from the misery, basically.
Um, Maybe it's a little wordy. Maybe boiling down the sentences, making them a little bit simpler might make it a little bit punchier.
I think when you philosophize less and you cut in with action, that's going to naturally tighten the poem regardless. But I agree with what you're saying though. But I think, just going to action and actually more action, less thought, more show, less tell. I think that's gonna squeeze everything down and pop those adverbs like zits.
Yeah, it's a good thing to write about actually, though. I think there's an idea there, so I hope you develop it.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say that to me, this poem is about the reality that we're all constantly being held responsible individually for our collective way of life, which is the actual problem. So the poem is actually, to me, is about that. It's about the reality that of course our lives all have consequences for other people's lives and for other creatures, especially around us. Who hasn't stepped on an ant or some other insect? Unless you go around with a broom sweeping away very carefully, like the
James, yeah, yeah.
gurus in India or
And then you're
something.
unsettling all those poor ants' home and displacing them anyway.
Yeah, and the carrots scream when you eat them. That's it.
Oh God.
So
Not to mention the ravioli.
And I really thought that
it's
this was
a very
a
real thing that you're
critique.
onto.
Oh wow.
I thought this was a real critique of modern liberal wokeism where you have to be so perfect. And that's what I read. I read you talking about reality and just like, yeah, oh, okay, that's what I heard. But anyway, cool. I liked it.
Oh, that's definitely in there too. Like, I'm glad that
Yeah.
that came through.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Anna. That was great. And now I'm going to push to say, let me see. Nike has been with us for a while, so if you'd like to share, you are more than welcome to. If you're just here to listen and add thoughts, and thank you for doing that so far, thus far, you're welcome to do that. But if you want to share the screen, you already have the permissions.
Perfect. Uh, okay. I believe this is it. All right.
There we go.
Is version B of a poem called Pupa or Pupa, however.
Koopa.
Okay. The scrubsman turned over the card and lamented that the swords craved flesh. The tender mountain bursting through my tailbone would only take a few more days to peak. Every heartbreak created this, though it's avoidable with the right insurance. They gave me 2 weeks' worth of candy as consolation. I'll crawl to my favorite corner and swaddle myself in waxy threads that will transform me to something greater. I can only hope my skin will keep stretching to the point where pain tastes different and oopsie, not supposed to be there, and the spicy pain will expand to a tail that wraps around my ankles and quills blossom across my limbs. The enzymes sharpen my teeth and strengthen my nails. Add another ring to my trunk to show what else I won't tolerate. Fibers will shift. My eyes will remember the color of the monarda that flashes in my dreams. All the follies of life rolling inside my veins. My stomach will bloat twice its size and digest bone. These limbs will be elastic, and I'll carry all this grift. My breath will be thick and peel paint, and I'll smell the nuance between sour and sweet nothings. Maybe cartilage will expand. My wings will be strong enough to flap off the last meconium, and I'll have feet planted firmly on this earth, and I will possess vocal cords that are lightning against the black sky.
Few moments to reflect and fire away what you like at this. I like the blending of science, basically metaphor, science, and in some cases mysticism in the beginning. That was kind of surprised about that. I didn't expect such a thick blend of that, and it was a really
Um,
good. It was a good effort to get all that in.
let's see. I like the line about the right insurance. Pain tastes different. Add another ring. All this grift. That's kind of cool. It's kind of surreal. It kind of reminds me in some ways of what I do, where I think up pretty good lines and then somehow string them together, and somehow it makes a story out of it. But I did get an impression of sort of growing, metamorphosis, that kind of thing going on there. Caterpillar, butterfly kind of thing.
What interests me is that the voice has self-awareness. Um, in the second stanza, transform me to something greater. That they have an awareness that they're going through a change, and then you also bring that back in the last stanza. My cartilage will expand so it'll be strong enough. Again, that's self-awareness of what's going on to them in the change.
I love your use of language throughout. It, everything is beautiful. Um, I get pregnancy, especially with the meconium being referenced here. The different types of pain, especially bursting from my tailbone, like felt kind of in that space, especially like adding the insurance, like that was there. I'm also hearing like getting out of bad relationships and growth after bad relationships. And I don't know how much those things influence us and how much that's what you want to be doing with it. But I heard them really strongly and it all made sense together.
This is
Go ahead.
there's a lot to say about there's a lot to say about the imagery, but before or and the transformation process and how to bring that out even more. But what I will say is this: I keep on thinking this is like a flip version of Metamorphosis from Kafka. It's it's almost a feminine version. Instead of the male recluse stay sitting in his house until he can no longer move, and then everyone fussing over him, not knowing what to do. It's uh, it's a speaker going to the doctor and knowing the diagnosis and I want to say acceptance of the transformation, but in some ways it's almost confidence. It's like a positive version that you're changing into something that the speaker is changing into something different, and it's the anti-morphosis metamorphosis, and that it's not negative. It doesn't lead to death. It leads to
Growth.
I guess growth. Growth.
You're
I don't want to say something cliched as growth, but it's definitely something that
Transformation.
it's your
is.
next
It's not even positive or it's not even positive or negative. It's just it's confident that it is. The transformation is, and it speaks that truth, which is pretty fantastic. It's also the anti-Moral metamorphosis because Gregor didn't know what the fuck was happening to him. This is such a flip to it, and I enjoy it so much. I want to let someone else talk.
So The second to the last line, I have feet planted firmly on the earth. That's kind of a cliche. Can we come up with something more original for it? My toes burrow into the mud or some such thing. The scrubsman. I don't really know what a scrubsman is, so maybe at the end when you're answering questions, you can tell me.
I have two comments about the form. The first one is the tense of the verbs um, turned. I would try the whole poem in simple present tense turns and make all of the verbs present tense. Um, the the use of the end of a sentence having no punctuation, like the second line uh, after flesh, having just one space, and then with a word with a capital the, is I don't understand how that helps this poem. Um, I find the clauses more like prose, and putting the beginning of a thought on a separate line and deleting a lot of the thes would move it more towards a poem away from prose. Um,
Hmm. I want to. Does anyone else want to speak before I do again?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
The very start of the second stanza that says, I'll crawl to my favorite corner and swaddle myself in waxy threads. Ooh, that will transform me into something greater. I'm wondering, like, maybe perhaps you could expound on what that something greater actually is and, not leave it open ended.
I wouldn't want too much of a showing of what that thing is because it's like the metamorphosis. He doesn't necessarily know he became a cockroach, but it's highly inferred from his own description of himself. I almost with the I almost don't want to see the picture, but I do. I would love to see. I would kind of like to see the final form. To go back to what Robert said, I would make the verbs active, and I'm thinking of Mark Strand's Eating Poetry, where everything is in the present. She does not understand when I get on my knees and lick her hand. I am a new man. I snarl at her and bark. I think to just a quick example here. I'll carry all this grit. My breath will be thick and peel paint. I like the idea of I carry so much grit. My breath peels paint. I kind of like the idea of just like witnessing the transformation in the present tense and having that be like even more powerful. Like I try not to impose form like what form the poem would be in, but if I were to do that here, I would suggest maybe having four parts, like one, two, three, and four, and almost to describe the stages of metamorphosis, ending with the pupa and not knowing what the final form is going to be fully yet, but still being confident in the process, in the change.
I don't know. I think part of pupa specifically, like it is the stage before your big transformation. It is you're
Mm,
melting everything. And so dreaming of the future, I think, is part of it. And it's hard to show a dream of the future in a present tense.
mm.
Yes, maybe
Anyone
it's
else? Oh, there you go, John.
becoming but not arriving.
What was that?
Maybe it's a poem about becoming but not yet arriving.
that's what my thought was. Like pupa itself is kind of brilliantly conveys that in that it's not we're not going to be at the end no matter how long the poem goes. It's always just going to be that one step before the first flight or whatever you become.
Because the lines have more than 10 words, it slows the pace. So I would encourage you to think about what pace is this metamorphosis happening at, and if there's any time that the pace is quick, the way to do that is to reduce the number of words on the line, to reduce the number of syllables in the words. If you ever want to go faster.
I think he's been pretty quiet. I'm very interested in if they have any questions or want to expound on anything anyone has said.
Yes, I do. So thank you everybody for y'all feedback. It has been very helpful. This is so one of the first questions I'll get into, I believe John asked it. So the scrubsman, that's a very old school way to describe a doctor. And the beginning of the poem, it was supposed to be kind of a little more it was supposed to be definitely a little bit more mystic for sure, like, because I was kind of thinking of tarot cards, and I wanted to kind of add that aspect that seemed interesting to me. And then overall, so the poem itself is actually about this ongoing disability that I'm having that I've recently developed in the past couple of years. And it's been just a really big change on my life and how I've been doing things. And it slowed a lot of stuff down, and it's made me just really change my perception on myself. And I think I'm finally in the years now of just like accepting that, not like yeah, accepting that, not feeling guilt about that, and kind of moving forward into what's next. And I think it's really interesting that you guys asked about what's next because truthfully, I do not know. Like I'm definitely in a better spot than when I first created the poem, but do I personally think I am the transformed being? I don't think I'm there yet. So this poem is definitely in the moment of like understanding that I am changing and giving myself the grace to change. And possibly reduce.
Hey
And
Nike,
yeah,
Nike, if it's like a tarot card, how about the scrubsman turning over a specific tarot card, whatever it is, the one that signals disaster or change or something like that? That might work.
yes, yeah, that was kind of the idea with the it lamented the swords. The swords are often associated with physical changing, bodies changing. It's very, you feel it in your body type of thing. And that was the idea, but I don't know. I don't know, it felt very, this ain't the right word, but it felt very modern to be like, oh, it was the Fourth of Swords. That felt like it would have killed the kind of energy that I was going for it. But
Oh,
like it
okay.
was
I didn't get the lamented the swords in your first line, but I see it now. Okay.
Did
yeah. But yes, I guess I'm also just I guess what's kind of been stalling the poem too, it is, in my mind, it is basically finished. But I guess it also reminds me of what Robert was saying. It's like I am definitely struggling with the pace. And I feel like I don't know if it's actually needed, but in my mind, I keep feeling like there needs to be a certain maybe turn of emotion or something. And it feels like I'm not nailing that right. And yeah, if you guys have anything to say about that, that would be helpful.
Mm.
So I have one piece that I've done with that was very, very heavy on tarot stuff. And one of the things that I found is the reason that it lands is because I way overdid it. Like absolute bashing them over the head with it. And that isn't to say that you need to have the numbers necessarily, but you need more than one reference. Um, and you need to go a little harder than you think you do. If you wanted to try to bring back mysticism as part of that, making a movement towards, the pain being something that you have more, or your new life being something that you have more relationship with, I would look at some of the tarot cards and bring in just probably major arcana stuff here, but like mention death, give it a capital. That is, the transformations kind of space, and also I'm sure resonant when you're dealing with disability issues is, that specter of, is this going to be the thing that kills me? And that if you're trying to bring some mysticism in later on, I would bring back that tarot, and then you've got a reference back to your beginning too.
One way to bring a turn to the poem is for the two different phases of this being. One is the phase they're starting off on, and then the second one is after the metamorphosis, is what is the primary motivation of each in their phase. So in the first phase, if it's an animal, their primary motivation could be surviving by avoiding a predator, being eaten by a predator. And then afterwards, in the new phase, their primary motivation could be reproduction. And being clear on what the motivations are in the different phases can help you create the turn.
Heard. Thank you.
Wow. I enjoyed this one, Nike. Thank you so much. I think I'd like to bring up next Silendy herself, if she is so willing. And I think she is.
Hi guys. So I have a piece that it is almost 9. Well, no, it's actually 9:09. So I have a piece that I could send, but it's pretty long.
We started at 9 o'clock. We started at 7:30. We're not gonna penalize anyone coming in now. We can still we got through pretty quickly. So if you want to do it, I would love to hear you read it.
Eunice, the way you can deal with the fact that the poem is more than one page is we could just look at the first page or a section that you select.
It's actually not more than one page because I had typed it on the notes section of my iPhone. So how can I get it to share?
Do you have a share screen option at the bottom of your computer? At the bottom of the screen, there should be a green arrow. Are you using a computer or are you using a phone?
It's on
So
an iPhone.
the poem is in my phone.
How
So
about
you can email that note to yourself and then open your email on your computer and share screen.
There you go.
There we
I
go.
don't think about that because I never use my phone for Zoom.
Alrighty.
Never use my phone.
Now let's see here.
I have such sausage fingers, I'd be inviting my own mom to the reading. I wouldn't be able to control. Okay.
I do so much stuff on my phone that it's almost like using a laptop. It's like, oh yeah, I can actually use a laptop to do stuff. Alrighty, so now let's see here. Let me see about sharing my screen. How do I do that?
You see a green arrow?
I see a green check mark.
Hmm.
There should be a bar at the bottom. If you bring your mouse down, it'll show up. It has the leave door on one side, your audio on the other side, and there should be a green arrow right dead middle that says share.
There we go. Got it.
Thank you again, Anna. I've
Got
got to
it.
conduct one of these on phone just to get used to it.
Let me see. Let me share. Let me share my entire screen.
Sounds good.
That's a lot of faith in us.
All right.
And something's happening. Here we go. Whoops. You just got to bring the dock up. There you go.
Can you see
Nice.
it?
We got it. Yes, we can.
All right. So I'm going to read it, and then once I'm done, I'll let you guys dissect it or cut it up and do what you want with it. She met him at a stranger's house, back on a chilly March night. Only went over there to take a risk. Each step of the stairway creaked. As she made her way inside, uncertainty filled her mind. To finally, once and for all, come out of her shell. One of two brown people in the room, she stood in the corner. Unable to blend in, she stood quietly, observing the room, watching and analyzing everyone's behavior like a true psychologist. And as she took in the atmosphere, her layers were shed piece by piece as each poet read their piece, allowing confidence to build up and making her way over to the host, asking for her name to be written down so that she too may be allowed to grace his stage, to share with the crowd an intimate space, to allow her voice to be heard above a whisper among strangers who would later on become familiar faces. However, with all the pieces that touched her, his penetrated her soul, breaking unconscious barriers, bringing unknown feelings to light. You see, it was never love at first sight. For this poet, it was love at first exposure, at first thought, expressed out loud, at first affirmation that she killed the crowd. That a well established poet can acknowledge her skills and say, yo, you killed. As time went on, she thought of him more and more, liked him more than the day before, being at his mics, hearing him share his plight, watching all of his accomplishments come to pass, seeing the fruits of his labor grow forth via motivation and determination. This man that she thought somehow caught unexpected feelings for ended up within the pages of her poetry book. Night after night, inspiring line after line, she's never met a man who could inspire her rhymes, spark her creativity, bring it to new levels, and leave her notebook on fire. She imagines his kisses, outlines his embrace. Every beat of her heartbeat spells his name. Alas, as she peers into his life, there are many different variables, pieces, and working parts, and she fears that she may never belong. She doesn't even know if they pray to the same God. Sadly, she withdraws, leaving nothing but time to console her upsets. And as she resolves to take every feeling, putting them where they belong, deep down within the secret place where her soul intersects with her heart and crosses over, common sense bridge to where logic lives, hoping that any remnants as such will cease to exist, knowing the two of them will never share a kiss. Her head will never lay upon his chest by nightfall. She will not be the bride by his side forever down the ride. She takes every feeling, burying it inside. After all, she tells herself, a woman should never make the first move. The voices of the past telling her, it's not ladylike. Don't ever chase the guy. But in her mind, she knows he's not just any guy. He's the one who set her heart free beyond barriers, letting her know she could fly. And yeah, that is a piece that I wrote about 11 years ago. My God.
If you could leave that piece up for us, because
You guys see it?
we need to right now all we're seeing is your screen, so you'll have to keep it maximized. You might not be able to see our faces.
Okay, can you see it now?
And if you could scroll down, we can see it now. But if you could scroll down a little bit just so we could see the rest of the lines,
All right.
and we can take a few minutes just to review the lines we heard but we couldn't read, and then we
I'm so
will
sorry.
that's fine. Your first time doing this, my first time doing this. Anna had to save my ass, so you have nothing to apologize for.
You know, I like this. I like the whole story. It was really good. I especially like the line, "Set my notebook on fire." There are only two things that I would change in this.
Okay.
Uh, One of them was, you know, she come out of her shell. That's kind of a cliche. Just eliminate that. That doesn't help you. The other one was, you know, it wasn't love at first sight. It was love at first thought. Okay, love at first sight again is another cliche. So just get rid of that. Just say it was love at first thought. It was love of this. It was love of that. And I think that'll make it a little bit stronger. But just a very nice piece. It was a very you really put me in this woman's head, which I assume is you, but not necessarily. So good work.
Thank you.
Another poem that I desperately need to work on, and I did not end up reading tonight, is called Never Date a Poet, and that was just echoing through my head the whole time you're reading. Because girl, don't do it, don't do it.
Oh, yes, the lessons I've learned. Mind you, this is a 2014 poem.
I really love it. I think there's some really wonderful pieces in it. I do think if you were trying to polish it for publication, this is 30% fluff. Like you can bring it down a bunch. I don't know exactly where all of the pieces are, but like you can tighten it a lot. There's room.
Okay.
If you might scroll up just to the top, because I can think of some ways you might be able to do it, is to try and have faith in the settings.
Hmm.
I was thinking of the lines. I'm just scrolling down to take a look. Stranger's house. Da, 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 da. One of two brown people in the room. She stood in the corner. And you could probably take out unable to blend. She stood like it is like things like that. Stood quietly. Like we get the feeling of not being able to blend just with this phrase, one of two brown people in the room. So
Hmm.
there might be ways to let the images stand so you don't and not over explain them with other text. That might get out some of the fluff as well.
Okay.
Because your imagery comes up very strong, so you don't have to back up what's behind it. You know, we definitely get the meaning.
Got it.
Which is the most important image in the poem? Would people say?
I personally really like towards the bottom, if you could scroll down, the some of the sentences where yes, knowing the two of them will never share a kiss, her head will never lay upon his chest by nightfall. I really think that whole little section of like the yearning that like that spoke out a lot to me. So I really enjoyed that part.
So one way to help to make the work more concise is to identify what is the most important image in the work and then rewrite the poem focusing on how you're going to incorporate and expand that that image in the poem. The the way the poem is written now is a combination of prose and poetry. You might try a form which combines prose and poetry. A common one is called haibun, which starts off with prose and then ends with a haiku poem.
Okay.
I thought one of the strongest actual images there, and one of the things that I really loved was the creaking steps on the home, and that opening being unclear whether it's like, I'm going to a date, I'm going to a party, oh, we're going to an open mic. I don't know if there's a way to echo that later as you're experiencing these feelings where it's like, I'm in love with the host. Oh no, this is a problem. But that continued confusion of, is this a date or is this an open mic, might be an interesting thing to try to bring in, but you also don't want to you don't want to be in this poem for 3 pages. So I don't know if that's necessarily something you should do.
One way to expand the creak in the house is to add a creak in the woman's body with a specific bone.
Oh. Oh, wow.
And you can also reference when the couple are being intimate, how she might get a different creak.
Huh. Okay. Well.
It's an interesting exercise. Where did you get the? I think you've kind of rephrased that a couple of times, but where's that exercise? Where's that thought process come from? What professor or teacher? I'm very curious.
Me?
I was asking Robert, like that
Okay.
statement, because I thought it was very interesting.
I attended a workshop through the Eastern Shore Writers Association focused on editing a work, and the leader focused on identifying the pearl of the work, which mostly was one image, and then she suggested to focus your edit and rewrite, focusing on the pearl, the best image in the work.
Okay.
Thank you, Robert.
I
Yeah, that
appreciate
Eastern
that.
Shore
Thank
Writers has some good stuff, I think.
Now, E, are there any questions that you have in terms of did you I don't know if you went into this with specific questions in mind, if so, did
you.
we answer them for you, or do you have other curiosity? Is
So
there anything else you'd like to ask us?
I would say this, right? Because this is, should I keep sharing my screen or should I
Keep it well until you say your thing. Well, keep it up until you ask the question or answer
okay.
whatever.
So when I wrote this poem 11 years ago.
Hmm.
Um and I wrote this poem because there was a person that I liked. I never told them that I liked them, but I needed a way to get the feelings out. And so, because I needed a way to get the feelings out, this is not a poem that I ever shared anywhere. I've
Hmm.
never shared it at an open mic. I think I workshopped it once. I think once in 2016, I took it to a workshop, but I didn't even, I forgot what they told me to do at that workshop. But, I think 2 years after writing it. So, mind you, when I look back at this piece from 11 years ago, I remember exactly what I was feeling as I wrote each line because I needed to process the fact that I wrote this about a guy while having a boyfriend. um, I wrote this about this person and then later on learning that they were in a relationship. So I had all these emotions, all these feelings that I needed to let out. But it's funny because now looking back, I don't even write like this anymore.
Hmm.
I don't even write like this. I do not put, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but when I'm dealing with strong emotions, I don't put them into poetry anymore. When I write about other things, but I don't dig deep into my own emotions and put them out on paper. I don't do that anymore. It's something, I don't know how I feel about not doing it anymore, but it's a level of vulnerability that I had at the time. So I definitely could chop this up and take it in a bunch of different ways. And I love the idea of taking, when I was going up the stairs and there was a creak in the stairs, and I could compare that to a creak in me physically. I love that comparison actually. Um, but when I talk about it was not love at first sight, it was love at first sound.
Hmm.
However, workshopping this piece, it'll definitely push my pen. So I like the feedback.
I
Here's
appreciate you bringing this.
here's one final question. I think instead of saying I in the poem, you're saying she to give you a little bit of emotional distance. Um,
Hmm.
is it time to change she to I in this poem?
I don't think I want to change she because frankly, I don't even feel this way about this person anymore. This is
Okay,
like over a decade ago. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just like, she.
that's the question. Then you can just the question.
No, I understand. Um, I don't know. I love giving myself a safe distance, but maybe I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I could put myself back into this.
A lot of times you leave a poem behind if you're too close to it, and it's perfectly normal to go back. I mean, you're at a blessed time when you can actually say, yeah, I went to something I wrote back 10, 15 years ago, and I can, and now I can really do some work on this. It's a really, you're in a really lucky spot. And maybe it is time to bring the eye back if you feel like sharing the emotions, but if you want to still keep distant, but there is some fire here. There is the rawness. I definitely
Hmm.
don't want you to lose that. And I hope you keep at least a fraction of that in whatever.
Here's another thing.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, Another thing. Give her a name. Give the character a name instead of she. Make her a Naomi or something.
Mm,
Maybe
okay.
it's an idea.
Okay. Got it.
I don't think you're alone in having those periods where like you're more processing on the page and performing your processing poem and doing more performative stuff that's more, focused on the craft or, the creativity of it. And it's okay to go back and forth. So I wouldn't feel like you have to be locked into, oh, this is the way I am now and this is the way I was then. Just,
Hmm.
this is the way I am currently and this is the way I was at that point, and that, it can be fluid.
Got it. It can be fluid because you know what's funny? I was 29 when I wrote this, and I remember talking to a friend of mine about this person. I didn't tell her name. I didn't tell his name, but I remember she was telling me, next time you like somebody, don't like them too much. And I was like, I don't know how to do that because I was so heartbroken over the fact that they were already in another relationship and that I never told them how I felt. And
I've
she was
had a
like,
couple that were those like, deep processing poems for a relationship that could not be.
yeah.
And the version that I write for that tends not to be what I can use, but it gives me fodder for a second or a third or a fourth draft where I've
Hmm.
chewed on it much, much longer. And that becomes something that's really resonant. So raw can be great, raw can be wonderful, but also, this is 11 years old raw. Like you can chew on it. You can play with it and you can do something a little different with it. And there's a lot of good here.
It gives me a chance it gives me a chance to, I could even rewrite this whole thing as if I were talking to the old version of me and giving her advice on what to do with all this emotion. Huh? I like all of it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That's what I
Let's
needed to hear to be able to edit my piece. I appreciate you.
Huh?
That's what I needed to hear to be able to edit my other piece. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad I
first
could
of
help.
yeah. Closing statements for you. I feel very fucking seen with that question. Is this an open mic or a date? That described one of my relationships that lasted 3 fucking years.
Oh.
But but second of all, you get a pleasure after a while just beating on your stuff from 10, 15 years ago. I ended up doing
Right.
that. I ended up like one of my first book was actually a good chunk of it was a selection of poems that I had failed to write. They were just like rough drafts or just even less failures from workshops that were sitting in my folders online, not even printed out, but they were things I dug back into when I was in my 30s. So I mean, it's very exciting to do stuff like that. There's
I
a
just
cart.
dug into my file cabinet maybe last year and pulled out a whole bunch of drafts and stuff like that, and trying to sort through them and
It can be
polish them.
very liberating just to beat on your younger self. Cartoonist Eddie Campbell has a famous page where his 40-year-old self in the present is seeing his 20-year-old self walk down the street. And he goes, "I'm giving him a fucking smack in the head." And his 60-year-old self comes from behind saying, "No, don't. You'll understand later." It was that's what I'm reminded of every time I see anyone take something raw like this at a
Yeah.
different point. So thanks so much. This was enjoyable to go through.
Thank you. I'm glad I could share. Thanks for letting me share it.
No problem. Mary Jennings. Mary Jennings, are you willing to
Okay.
share? Are you able to share?
Yeah, I have something. I haven't screen shared before. Let me try this.
You'll have to
Okay.
share your screen and then bring up the file if I heard Anna correctly. Anna can ansplain herself if she has to.
All right, sure. Yeah.
Wait, where'd you go? Oh, there you are.
Ooh, I like that ansplaining.
Um,
I'm clever on occasion.
right, so what do I have to do next?
Okay,
Share.
so you've got it on the share thing and it's giving you the option. You want to select whatever you have your poem open in. So if
Okay,
you've got it
yes.
in your
Okay.
browser,
Yeah, do you see it now?
not yet, you haven't hit the share button.
Oh,
So you select
okay.
it. There you go. It's coming up.
Okay. Yeah, I just typed this up. Wrote it,
Nice.
longhand. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. And it's got no title yet. So, two paths I wander, torn between desire, which soon turns to ash, and home that's not of origin, but hard won through good energy and wonder. Who says the two can't merge? Home begins with desire, a drawing in towards holy mission and heart's yen. It's side by side, not back and forth as it's meant to be.
Take as much time to pause and reflect, and then let her know what parts jumped out for you.
I like how super, super tight your lines are.
Thank you.
I'm I'm always interested when people chop their lines super short, seeing the variations on whether the moving the line break one word, one way or the other, would make a difference, and if that difference is positive. But like, I love that you just crunched it down really hard, and
Hey, thank you.
There's a good cruncher.
So the first two lines puts me in the Robert Frost poem, "The Road Not Taken."
Okay.
Mm. Anybody else? I like everyone else having a go before me.
I think you could possibly pare this down even more.
Okay.
You know, for one thing, I think, suppose if you got rid of the last line,
Right.
side by
Okay.
side, not back and forth, right? That might actually be good. What else? To pass. I wonder, maybe you could get rid of that. Torn between desire, which turns to ass. You might get rid of it soon. And home. Just home. Hard won through good energy. Who says that the
You mean leave the line "and home" as is with nothing else after it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
didn't
home,
like. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and
yeah,
home. That's not of origin, but hard won. And home, hard won, right? You know.
yeah. At the very least, I was electing taking "that's" away from "and home" and letting that stay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was even I was even tinkering to the point, and I love this because this kind of reminds me of the way I have to tinker with my smaller stuff. Two paths I wander. I would say we can debate whether or not two paths is needed, but I was gonna say two paths I wander, no comma,
yeah.
between desire, leave out the torn because the tearing is taking place as you progress through the poem, so you don't need the torn word in there.
Okay.
Between desire, which soon's turned to ash, and home, maybe a comma there, not of origin but hard won. Or maybe just as John, I think, was suggesting, and home, hard won.
Yeah, you know, this is so short and haiku like. Let's make each word really really matter. And you know, I'm just going to go back to the same thing again. You know, which words do the work and which words don't. You know, you don't want to pare it down so much that it sounds like pigeon English, but you know, you could get rid of a couple of stuff here. I think I
Right.
get rid of
Right.
the
So Chad and John are offering you a skinny poem, which is like 2 or 3 words per line. The other option is to go more like a Robert Frost poem, which is maybe at least 6 words per line. What Frost has, which you don't have, is where is this path? And then he has a lot of specific images. So your two biggest words to create an image are desire and ash. So I would be even more specific and expand on desire, and also link it to ash. Um, and then to expand on how whether they can be combined or not. What are their similarities? What are their differences? Or you could even try the poem both ways. One like a skinny poem, and the other one longer, 6 words per line, about more like a Frost poem.
And even though I might be calling for a skinny poem or a skinnier poem, John and I would press for even for line breaks to like have separate stanzas, just to hopefully give room for each thought to breathe a little bit more. But that's my nitpick, and I try not to impose, what I would do with certain styles in my own edits. With this poem, I want to be careful because a number of the changes that we suggested, John and I could have like changed what she was intending with the message, and a lot. So, anyone else?
I think one of the things with something this tiny is like it's like a gem, and any way you facet it is going to change things a lot. If you've got a more bulky poem, you've got more room to wiggle, and here you're. So I think it's always a good idea to experiment
Yeah.
and to do 2 or 3 different versions. I would love to see it with the line break between good and energy, just to hear, even if you just read it in your head, like what that difference is and if it's what you want or not. I also personally, this is my damage, but I love ending my skinny poems on like 1 word per line, just to really punctuate that it's the end of the thing. I don't know if that's necessarily going to fit on here, but it is a form that I really enjoy.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you. All right, so stop share. Okay. Thank you.
I think it's very
Okay.
important.
Sorry about that. Had to help my girlfriend. Okay. We are, wow. I am the road not taken, the Poetry Foundation. Definitely look through the chats because I know a lot of people say some good suggestions and some good links in that as well. Wow. I don't know if we call this a six.
Can I make one final point? I was
Yeah.
talking to some big shot author, and I say, yeah, I go to read critiques, and I usually take about half the advice people give me. He says, you're taking too much. So I think it's very important not to take advice if it just doesn't seem right for the poem.
Very true. But I do hope to answer, do hope that we answered the questions people had in the back of their minds. Nikki Giovanni talked about a session once saying that, sometimes the writer knows what's going on. They just need validation. I think she said at one point, a student doesn't have to ask me. Yeah, so the student bit sometimes doesn't even have to ask me, is the poem overwritten? And I'll just say, yes, child, it is. It's so. I hope whatever questions you had going into this regarding your piece, we got them answered for you, and maybe got some perspectives that you want to try out. Love to see these pieces in an open mic at some point, share them again. And we'll see about doing one of these again in the near
Chad,
future.
did you need to ask Jan? Did she share?
Oh, geez, Jan is not. Oh, Jan is in bed, I think.
Okay.
I think Jan and my girlfriend are texting, the hell with this, I'm going to bed. Me too, LOL. And
Thank you, everybody, for your feedback.
thanks to everyone for everyone's feedback and more importantly, sharing your work. And I'll be interested to see how this plays out because I'll probably be replaying this back at work and working on the Stone Soup Crouton poem based on unfinished poems, which will be interesting. This will, although is any poem truly finished? But anyway, this was great. Great way to end. I don't know if we're going to have an assemblage of any kind. We're certainly not gathering on Christmas Eve. That would be harsh cruelty on my partner and other loved ones. And we'll figure out what's going on as far as the last week of the month. But we will definitely be back after the new year and hopefully have at least one poet announced for the new year then. Someone who tried to make it this year but couldn't. And we're going to move her to some probably mid-January. And there's still some people I haven't heard from back. A poet in Philly who said he was interested, never got back to me. I hope he's doing okay. And we'll have more announcements like that to come. So thank you guys very much. This was a lot of fun to go through, and I haven't done a workshop since back pre-pandemic. So this is a hell of a lot of fun. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
anyone listening out there, if you managed to listen to an hour, 2.5 hours of this, you may want to do the workshop yourself with us next time. You just might be a poet, even if you listen to all this and are still listening to me ramble. But thank you guys so much. Enjoy your evening. If I don't see you guys in the Zoom screen, have a great year. Enjoy your holidays. Take care of yourselves. And God, Jesus, James. And your hand motion. You're technically right to my left, Anna. So when you're going like this, I'm like, what did I do? And then I look down. And I see James.
To be fair, Robert's to my left.
Oh, okay, that's true. Gotcha. Oh boy, Robert's to my right now. He's stage right, I think. Anyway, enjoy your evening, everyone. Enjoy the holidays. Stay safe.
I will.
By the way, Trump's speech tonight, TLDR, he just went up and said, "I shit my pants" and left. That's all you need to know. But have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Show's
Good
over.
night.
See you
Happy
next
holidays,
year.
Happy New Year
See
and
ya.
all that.